Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. How is everyone going? As we said, we were going to get a whole heap of information from FFG about X-Wing this week, and we actually got more than we bargained for, because apart from anything else, yes, we have Wave 7 revealed, as we're going to talk about in this video. We also got another article from Major Von Reg's TIE Fighter. I don't know if that one was supposed to drop today, but hey, that's a nice bonus. Also, unfortunately, there is the news that FFG did have to have some massive layoffs in their company just recently. Now, I won't talk about those things in particular in this video. I want to sort of take a step back, wait a few days, and discuss that separately. But for those of you who don't know, yes, that has been something that's happened. FFG have unfortunately had to close Fantasy Flight Interactive, who published the Lord of the Rings online card game just recently. Really good game. Strongly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. And while it doesn't look like it's going to affect the game of X-Wing, it still sucks. So again, we'll talk about that in a separate video, but I just wanted to quickly mention that here. Anyway, we're going to talk about these new ships for Wave 7. We have the G-Class Light Shuttle for the First Order, the LAAT Gunship for the Republic, I'm just going to call it the LAAT Gunship from now on, and the HMP Droid Gunship for the Separatists. So, without any further ado, let's dive into these. Let's start off with this First Order ship. Now, this is a shuttle on a medium base. For those of you who don't remember, this was the ship that Finn and Rose flew out of Snoke's Star Destroyer towards the end of The Last Jedi. It's a very interesting choice for the First Order. Honestly, in terms of what the faction needs right now, I'm surprised FFG gave them a shuttle. Well, I suppose at the same time, yes, they have a lot of TIE fighters already. They're only going to get more TIE fighters in the coming future. So maybe it is a bit different, but they do already have the Upsilon. So FFG do have their work cut out for them, trying to make sure that this is as different from the Upsilon as possible. And I think based on what we can see here, they've done a pretty good job. If we have a quick look at the dial, it is arguably a lot better than the Upsilon class shuttle. Now, the Upsilon does have the full grid of 1, 2, 3 straight banks and turns. And this one is arguably a lot better, although it doesn't have the 1 turns. It still has that full stop, which is awesome, and there's a lot more blue on this dial as well. So definitely a much more maneuverable shuttle. It doesn't obviously have the reach of being a big base ship, but still being medium is decent. If we take a look at the stats with the stack of pilot cards that were given us here, we have 2 red dice out the forward-facing primary arc, 2 green dice, 5 hull, and 2 shields. So a lot less chunkier than the Upsilon, that's for sure. The actions are focus, red target lock, red coordinate, and jam. Excellent. In terms of the pilots we can see here, we have a generic initiative 2. Also, interestingly, if we take a look at the left-hand side of this, we have a generic initiative 0 that does not have a primary attack value, which is kind of cool. Now, I don't think this ship is going to have any kind of secondary weapons based on the upgrades, so it looks like that this is going to be a pilot which just can't shoot. You got to imagine that's going to be a lot more cheaper than the Initiative 2 with the primary attack, even though it's only 2 red dice. Being able to attack is huge in this game. Not attacking is always a pretty bad thing, needless to say. Also, let's take a look at the upgrade cards that we get with this. And one we had fully revealed from this article, Agent Terex. Set up, equip this side face up, and place 3 calculate tokens on this card. At the start of the engagement phase, you may choose a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 and remove one of the calculate tokens from this card and have that ship gain a matching token. If there is no calculate tokens on this card, flip it. And I am actually curious about what they're going to put on the other side. It wasn't actually revealed in this article, but I would actually imagine it's going to be downside, because this seems like a lot of potential upside, and you have an incentive not to spend that last calculate token if that's the case, which is an interesting kind of design and seems to be fitting into what the First Order is doing. Now, just in terms of what this front side's doing, this is very, very powerful. Getting bonus calculate tokens on your ships is no joke. Getting to do it 3 times at ships at range 0 to 3, yeah, it's decent. It also works on the platform that this is on. So I'm just curious to see how FFG are going to balance this. As I said, I'm pretty confident that the backside of this is going to be some kind of downside. So if you don't spend that 3rd calculate token, basically you're getting less value out of this card overall, but at the same time you don't get that downside. That seems like a very natural way of balancing this out, and it seems to be pretty much in keeping with the design they've been doing on these kind of cards up to this point. But even so, if it is downside, it's a question of how much downside, and it's going to be very interesting because that front side is very, very powerful. Just going back to these upgrade cards as well, we've got a few interesting, unique characters. We have Commander Malaris, Commander Pyre, which is kind of cool. We have this card in between all the characters, just next to Agent Terex. Might be some kind of talent or something, we don't know. What's probably the most interesting here is we have a bunch of illicits, and previously the First Order have no ships with illicit upgrades. We have a copy of Contraband Cybernetics, Dead Man's Switch, Inertial Dampeners, Reeked Cargo Chute, and something else which I would assume is some kind of illicit. The image seems to be a LAAT gunship, so maybe it's like going to be a picture of a Separatist ship using this illicit upgrade. I'm not sure about that. Could be very, very interesting. Next up, we'll have a chat about the LAAT gunship. Here it is. The dial on the left-hand side here, not too dissimilar from the shuttle we just had a look at. We don't have any 1 turns, but again, we got 2s and 3s. Not as much blue on this dial. Still have our full stop maneuvers. Just the 1 and 2 forward are blue, so bit more of a chunkier, slower boy. If we take a look at these pilot cards here, we have 3 named pilots and a generic at Initiative 2. Our ship stats is a 2 red dice bowtie primary, 1 agility, 8 hull, 2 shield, and 2 recurring charges because the charges actually work with the baked in ability. Actions are focus, red reinforce, target lock, rotate arc, and reload. And if we take a bit of a close look at this, and I'm really not a fan of having to do this, again, I just wish FFG would give us high-res images, but anyway, here we go. Fire something. While a friendly ship performs a non-turret attack, if the defender is in, I think that's your bowtie arc, you may spend 1 charge. If you do, the attacker may reroll up to, I think that's 2 attack dice. Which I don't really have to explain is really, really powerful, obviously. This is really, really good for your friendly ships. It might be a 1, but just taking a look at the various cards here, again, I wish it was higher res so we could just tell. It looks like a 2 to me. So that's going to be really, really powerful. Given that kind of baked-in ability, I don't think this is going to be cheap enough to field in a kind of Palpaces list, but it is also worth pointing out we get a lot of unique characters in this pack, and there might be a really good support role for one of those. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the upgrade cards that come with this. First of all, revealed in proper in this article is Plo Koon. At the start of the end phase, if you are reinforced, you may choose 1 friendly ship at range 0, or in your left or right arc at range 1. That ship removes 1 deplete or strain token, or repairs 1 face-up damage card, has a force that recharges, and a purple reinforce, which is awesome. Also, apart from all of this, the ability on Plo Koon does not require you to spend a force token, like another card we're about to have a look at, which is unprecedented for force-using crew cards, and I think it makes a lot of sense for the Republic. They realistically should have access to the largest amount of the most powerful force users, and I think having these kind of abilities that are not necessarily more powerful than other force users, but don't actually use up force charges, is just no joke, because you also then get to use the force token just for its regular ability, changing a focus result to a hit or evade, and also purple reinforce. All of these things are really, really powerful, and you got to think, even though repairing a face-up damage card, removing a deplete or strain token, those are quite narrow effects. But you do have to think that everything on Plo Koon is going to be relevant at some point during a tournament if you equip this. In every game, you're likely to use maybe 1 or 2 of these 3 abilities, and that's just really, really good. Versatility is always a great thing in upgrades. If we go back to the spread of these cards, we have Ali Sakura as well. Again, a force, and we have a focus to purple coordinate. She doesn't grant the ship the ability of just doing a purple coordinate. I don't know why you wouldn't want to focus. I suppose there is no downside from taking a focus. It's just interesting that's how it's been done. While an enemy ship in your bullseye firing arc performs an attack, if the defender is friendly and at range 0 to, I think, 2, the defender may change 1 dice result to a focus result. Okay, that makes sense. So the reason it is qualifying that it must be friendly, even though in a 2-player game, yes, something defending against your opponent will almost always be one of your own ships, unless they're using R5 TK. Not that I think they should, but that is a situation. Also, in larger games or in like dogfights with multiplayer, that kind of stuff, yes, it does specify that it must be one of your friendly ships or like on one of your teammates' squads or something like that. So there is absolutely no way that your opponent could find some kind of strange way to get benefit from it, which again makes sense. Also, another ability that does not require a force token, also giving you the ability to spend the force token for hits and evades and for coordinates. And again, all of that's really good. Like, it's just a great all-round support card. And once again, I don't think all of those are going to be relevant in every single game you play. But it's a great thing to have in a tournament because you're going to have lots of versatility, and I really, really like that. Apart from that, looking at the rest of the cards, we have a few unique characters floating around here. There's a Captain Rex card, there's a Kit Fisto card, something company, like Wolfpack Company or something like that. It looks like they're wearing the yellow armor that Obi-Wan's troops have, so possibly whatever those are. Some other generic missiles and cards and stuff like that. Another copy of whatever this yellow card is here. Perhaps on reflection, it's not illicit on the G class because I don't think the LAAT Gunship is going to have illicit cards. Also a copy of this new missile card that we'll look at in a second, as well as a bunch of face-down crew cards, which we don't know about just yet. And finally, the HMP droid. Here's our dial for this small base ship. Again, we have one of these weird droid dials where it seems to favor very specific maneuvers if you're going at speed 2 and turning or going straight. Seems to be the most happiest. Apart from that, there is a lot of red on this dial, but still a lot of choices. It can do full stops and it can do 5 forward. So, yeah, this thing can actually really surprise you. Taking a look at the pilot cards, on top here we have a generic Initiative 3. Again, 1s and 3s are favoured amongst the droid pilots. There is a max 2 of Initiative 2 pilot. Does something with missiles. I'm not going to talk about any of these pilots just yet. We don't really have a lot of these cards obscured. I mean, it's one thing to try and decipher like a really low-res image, but then doing it with half the card cut off, not going to do it. I'm going to wait for some high-res images to talk about these. Taking a look at the upgrade cards, we have a configuration for this ship. Set up, equip this side face up, reduce the difficulty of your straight maneuvers, which is great on this ship. After you fully execute a maneuver, you may flip this card. Repulsor lift staff, that is really hard to read the name of this card, but it seems to offer a decent amount of versatility. I would imagine the other side is going to help you with your weaponry, if I had to guess. And just jumping back to the stats of this ship, we have a 2 red dice primary in the forward 180 arc, 1 agility, 5 hull, 3 shield, calculate, target lock, red barrel roll, and reload to red calculate. Looks like it's going to be focusing mainly on weaponry. Again, going back to the spread of upgrade cards, we have delayed fuses. Ion missiles, we have some kind of character here. I'm not sure what this is, but it's got 3 recurring charges. Maybe it's like a Magna Guard or something. Seems pretty interesting. It might be another tactical relay, actually. Would be interesting if this one had a tactical relay. Would make sense. Missile pod, some kind of new bomb, and some kind of new cannon. And just with that new bomb, we have these new tokens for that as well. So more information on that when it develops. But for the meantime, we do have this missile card revealed. I'll just bring this up here. It requires 2 missile slots, so it's going to obviously work on this. Also the TIE Bomber, Punisher, and Gunship. I think are the 3 other ones with 2 missiles. Attack, calculate, or target lock. Spend 1 charge. There are 5 charges on this. If the defender is in your forward arc, you may spend 1 charge to roll an additional die. If they're in your bullseye firing arc, you may spend up to 2 to re-roll up to 2 dice. The attack is in your forward 180 firing arc and fires at range 1 to 2, which is kind of cool because, yeah, on this ship you are obviously just improving the quality of your basic attack, but if you put this on a TIE Bomber, it actually means the TIE Bomber can shoot sideways, which could be a bit dangerous. But obviously, the more accurate you are with this, the more accurate it's going to tend to hit because you get those rerolls. And I like that overall. It is only a 2 red dice primary, so the likelihood of needing to roll 2 extra dice, it doesn't really feel great. You can't fire this at range 3 and get rid of your opponent's defense dice modifier. It just feels okay. Again, I really think a lot of the value in this is going to be slapping on TIE Bombers if it's cheap enough. Seems like a decent card. Again, if it's cheap enough, I think it's going to be an okay option for this ship, just making sure you get those rerolls and getting a bit more consistency on your attacks. But bear in mind, if you're shooting at range 1, you still get 3 red primary dice anyway, so it's got to be at range 2 to give you some real tangible upside. Cool design nonetheless though. I like that it doesn't feel too powerful, but it does feel interesting at the very least. And for the time being, that's all the information we have on these new ships. They're talking about releasing these in the second quarter of 2020. They haven't mentioned what wave this is meant to be a part of. I've just assumed it's going to be wave 7, or indeed that this is the entire wave. I gotta say, on a personal level, I'm really disappointed we didn't see any new ships from Rise of Skywalker or the Razor Crest from Mandalorian. I was really sort of crossing my fingers that today's announcement was going to be some of those at the very least. I mean, they're definitely going to come regardless, but I don't know. These ships are cool. I think they're going to do a good thing for the game, but I would have liked something a bit more relevant in terms of recent media. Anyway, stay tuned. We have so much more to talk about on the channel. I'll get through all of it over the next couple of days. In the meantime, do not forget to like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting my Patreon as well. The links for doing all of that are down in the description if you want to get a part of this. Join our Discord and join in the chat. We have a great time over on the Discord. Thank you so much to everyone that has already done that. You guys are absolutely awesome, and I'll catch you all in the next video.